What's going on, everybody? King of Dragons 5000 here, coming at you with another figure review. Today we'll be having a look at the Mattel WWE Hall of Fame series, the Heenan Family. Yes, here we have the Heenan Family 4-pack out of the box. Unfortunately, the box was not able to fit into my studio. That's a little bit of a bummer, but we do have all 4 figures here. The set does contain Andre the Giant, Bobby the Brain Heenan, Curt Hennig, Mr. Perfect, and Big John Studd. Really glad I found this set in the packaging, or at Target I should say. So what I'm going to do now is take a little moment, get somebody on screen, and we'll go through these figures one by one, and we'll review these guys as a set in total, see if these guys are worth it or not. So take a little break, guys. We'll be right back. And here we have Andre the Giant posing out of the packaging. We're reviewing him first because he is a reissue figure. We'll go down the line with reissues, and then we'll move on to first time in the lines. So, like I said, here we have Andre the Giant posing out of the packaging. I believe this is his 3rd Elite figure release. One being Elite 29, the other being his Legends release. But really glad I have this figure. This is actually my 2nd Andre the Giant figure. My first one was actually Elite 29. They basically share the same body with the exception of the head. The head is different. From 2 different eras of Andre. This one does not have the sideburns, this one does. And in case you're wondering if the wig that Elite 29 came with fits this Andre, the answer is yes, it does. And quite honestly, it looks a lot better on this Andre than it ever did on Elite 29 Andre. This is still a ridiculous accessory. I might actually display this one with the afro, but we'll get more into that later. But really nice figure, glad I picked him up. He is wearing a dark blue singlet, as you can see. He also has his black boots. I was going to say dark black, but anyway, let's actually go on to some of his details really fast. Yeah. Okay, moving the camera to his head, he is quite a big figure. You can see that this is Chops Andre, but what I mean by chops is he has the sideburns, which is really nice. And then his curly hair. You can definitely tell that Mattel put a lot of care into Andre. Does this look like Andre the Giant? Yes, there are some pictures where he does the big bulging eyes, which this is supposed to be where that's from. You can see he is kind of big. Well, not kind of big, he is big. Like I said, dark blue singlet, as well as his black boots. He's not wearing any wrist tape, nor is he wearing any knee pads. I don't think they made knee pads or elbow pads that big back in this time. But really, really nice figure, and let's actually get the camera steady. I'm going to mention this now. I think I mentioned it when I did Big John Studd, is that his arms seem kind of small. Yeah, his arms seem a little short. I really wish Mattel would make longer arms specifically for Andre, because he kind of needs it. But other than that, really good figure. Overall, I'm pleased with it. When it comes to his head joint, or when we go down into his articulation, he has a bulge in the head. He can look up, but not down so much. He can look up pretty well, down not so much. Head on a bobble, so you can get it moving. Moves left and right. Hindered by the way his head is actually attached. His head sits really low on the neck, so you really can't move his head past that. I don't even want to risk it because I might break that ball joint. But arms on a ball joint go out, do a full 360, swivel at the bicep, single jointed in the elbow, spins and bends in the wrist. Ab crunch, which you're not going to get too much out of it, which I'm not too mad because Andre didn't move around. He wasn't graceful. He was just like big, moving, really limited in what he could do in the ring. Waist swivel, which mine is really loose, as you can see. I'm not doing much and he's moving crazy. Don't know how to fix that without taking the figure apart, but legs go forward, back, and out. Another problem I have is that the legs on mine are really loose, you can see. Eventually, the legs are going to give out, and he's going to start doing the splits and knocking stuff down in my collection. So, don't know how I'm going to display him yet, but he does have thigh swivel, double jointed in the knees, spins at the boot, and has really stiff ankle joints. So really glad that the bigger figure has stiff ankles, and he does have slight rocker ankles. Not as good as we've seen on other figures, although this one moves much more than his left one, so maybe this one is just tight. So that's Andre the Giant for you. So what I'm going to do now is take a little break, move on to the next figure, and then we'll continue this review. So sit tight, everyone. So here we have the second figure of the set, Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig. Now let's get a good 360 of this guy. Really glad I finally have a Mr. Perfect figure. I believe this is his third overall release. He had one in the Legends line, and then he had one for, I believe, WrestleMania Basic Series. His Legends line had a blue singlet, and his WrestleMania one had a yellow singlet, I believe. But overall, I think I prefer the orange on Mr. Perfect, because, I don't know, orange was the one that I saw him wrestle in the most when I saw him in WCW. But just overall, really nice figure, and I know a lot of people say that there's a lot of things wrong with these figures, and I will agree that yes, Mattel does have a problem with the waist right here on Elite figures. The waist on a lot of the figures are kind of thin. Mr. Perfect really wasn't this thin. He was kind of a little thicker on the... He was just a tiny bit thicker right here in the abs, but like I said with the Ted DiBiase one, I've come to understand that Mattel really can't make us a larger abdomen to compensate for some figures, and I'm perfectly okay with Mr. Perfect right here. If anything, his basic figure is probably the most accurate. But like I said, still really happy I have this figure in hand. Let's actually go on to some of his details. And there's a train passing by every time I'm doing a review. How do you like that? Really good likeness to Mr. Perfect. Like I said, I grew up watching him in WCW, not so much in WWE. You can see the singlet is orange, and then it is black on the back, which is really accurate to what he wore. Like, part of me wants to say he wore a black singlet with the same color right here. Like, this was either blue or orange or yellow. Like I said, I can't remember, but I want to say he did. On mine, the knee pads seem a little wonky, like, they just don't seem to fit his legs properly. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's either that the legs are wrong or the knee pads just got warped. There's just something wonky about him. It's also like this on my Zack Ryder figure, so I don't know. I'm chalking it up to the warping of the knee pads. And then on his boots, we do get a Mr. P for Mr. Perfect. And of course, white wrist tape. Really nice arms. They are kind of muscular, which fits the era for Mr. Perfect. Really good figure. Unfortunately, he doesn't come with any accessories. Actually, none of the figures from this set do. Would have been nice if he had an Intercontinental title, but going on to his articulation, he has a bulge in his head. He can look up and down slightly, hindered by his hair, which is kind of soft, but it's not soft enough to really do anything about it. He does have some side-to-side movement, spins left and right. Arms on a bulge and go out, do a full 360. He spins at the bicep, single jointed in the elbow, spins and bends at the wrist. Ab crunch, which is loose right here, but it gets tighter, so you can see it's loose here, but gets tighter right there, and it's tight all the way through. Waist swivel. Legs go forward, back, and out. On mine, his legs appear like they want to be detached from the body, as you can see, and I don't want to really force it because I might break the figure, but you can see that. But anyway, swivel at the thigh, double jointed in the knee. He spins at the boot, and just like Andre, has an ankle hinge and ankle pivot. So really good figure in Mr. Perfect. Kind of wish he had an Intercontinental title, but I can just give him one for my spare parts. But anyway, that's Mr. Perfect for you, so what I'm going to do now is move on to the next figure, so sit tight, everyone. And here we have Big John Studd out of the packaging. Now let's get a good 360 of him. Really, really nice looking figure. To my knowledge, this is the first time Big John Studd has been released. I'd have to actually go back and actually take a look, but I am pretty sure that this is his first time in WWE line, because for the life of me, can't remember at the moment. I'm so sorry about that. But we do have Big John Studd out of the packaging, and he is a bigger figure. And just so you can see, that's his size to Kurt Hennig, and then his size to Andre the Giant, which I believe is accurate. I could be wrong. Maybe Big John Studd was just a teeny bit tinier. Maybe Andre was taller. I don't know. This looked like a good scale comparison. But yeah, we do have Big John Studd here, and he is wearing his white attire with the blue stars going down the side. And yes, they are blue. They appear black. He is wearing the really bright red boots with the white lace and the white heels. So I really don't know too much about Big John Studd. Like, I just know, like, he wrestled Andre at WrestleMania 1, was it? In the Body Slam challenge where he challenged Andre to body slam him for like $1 million or something like that, and then Andre just threw the cash around. But like I said, I'm not too keen on the history of Big John Studd. That's kind of before my time, actually. But still, a really nice figure. Really glad I have him in my collection. Let's actually go on to some of his details really fast. Moving the camera up. From what I remember, this does look pretty good. This does look like Big John Studd, although I just noticed this now, but his lips are completely different from his head. Huh. It's almost like they painted this entire piece and then painted his mouth flesh tone. Really strange. But anyway, we do have a Big John Studd. Really hairy chest. He does have the bigger arms. He actually has the same arms Andre does, except his doesn't look as bad as Andre's. I forgot to mention this on Andre's review, but Andre's arms seem short, but that's only because of how big his torso is. It's a really nice figure, and the red is really vibrant on my camera. Wow! And then he is sporting that mullet that all the wrestlers had back in the 80s and partway into the 90s, and there's actually a reason behind that. In case anybody ever asks you, why did wrestlers have mullets back in the day? It's so they could have short hair that didn't get in their face, but have long hair in the back. So it would be short at the top so that it didn't interfere with their vision, and then long in the back just for show. That's why they did it, so there you go. Going on to his articulation, Big John Studd does have the standard elite articulation, and there's another train, my goodness. He has a ball joint head. He can look up and down pretty well. Head moves really well on a bobble. So you get a good range of movement from Big John right there. Head does move left and right, and his hair is a really soft, rubbery piece, which I'm really glad about. I kind of wish Mr. Perfect's was also like that, but, you know, it is what it is. Arms on a ball joint, go out, do a full 360, swivels at the bicep, single jointed in the elbow, spins and bends at the wrist. He does have an ab crunch, which works pretty well. Gives you a little more range than Andre. I kind of wish that they continued the paint for his chest, for his body hair going upwards, because that looks weird. But moving down, we have that. Waist swivel. Legs go forward, back, and out. He swivels at the thigh, double jointed in the knees, spins at the boot, and has a hinged ankle, which is kind of tight, as well as a pivot in the ankle, giving him pretty good range of movement. But that's Big John Studd for you, so what I'm going to do now is move on to the final figure, Bobby the Brain Heenan. So sit tight, everyone. And here we have Bobby the Brain Heenan posed and out of the packaging. I know this is a figure everybody's been wanting to see. Let's get a good 360 of Bobby the Brain Heenan really fast. Really, really good job in Bobby the Brain Heenan. I actually think that he is my favorite out of the set. Not much to say about the figure itself. It is just another standard suit body. Although the torso does seem completely different, because this one actually has like lines going down the center with the buttons. I think he has a bow tie. I think the only other figure we've had a bow tie on is, I believe, Ricardo Rodriguez. And I should have actually checked, but I don't think they use the same torso. But anyway, here we have Bobby the Brain Heenan out of the packaging now. He is covered in so much detail, and I'm really glad that I picked this set up because I was a huge fan of Bobby the Brain Heenan on commentary when he was on in WCW, and he was just so good at playing that heel persona. So let's actually go on to some of his details really fast. Moving the camera to his face. Really, really good likeness of Bobby the Brain Heenan. If the camera will focus, there we go. Really good likeness to Bobby the Brain back in the day. I know he's been through so much in recent years, but you know, for what the figure is, it looks just like him back in the day. You see his nice blonde hair. He actually has a lot of intricate designs on his jacket, going from the shoulders down the arms onto the back. We have the golden buttons on both sides, and then we even have the tail. It's almost like a tuxedo. And then we have a nice gold stripe that goes down the leg all the way down to those really, really nice white boots. And then speaking of bow ties, he does have a golden bow tie, which is fantastic. Like I said, you can see the lines sculpted on the shirt with the gold buttons and his cummerbund. Yes, somebody actually pointed out to me that this is called a cummerbund, so I wish I remembered your name off the top of my head, but thank you for mentioning that on my Jimmy Hart review. Just really nice figure overall, and pretty good articulation, although managers really don't need a whole lot of articulation. I'm kind of glad that we get the option to have it too, because this could also double as a custom $1 Million Man body if you think about it. Just pop the head off and put Ted DiBiase's head on here and you have the $1 Million Man. So, you know, if that's something you want to do, you can go ahead and do that. But anyway, let's actually go on to his articulation. He has a ball jointed head. He can look up, down, left and right, and head is on a ball joint, so you can get it moving side to side. Nice range of movement. Arms on a ball joint go out. He does a full 360. Kind of squeaks on mine. He spins at the bicep, single jointed at the elbow, spins and bends at the wrist. He has an ab crunch which does really good going back, but you don't get much movement going forward, and that's kind of because they gave him kind of a bulkier, you know, body, and Bobby the Brain wasn't a thin guy, and I'm kind of glad they gave him a bulky, you know, a slightly chunky body, because that's pretty accurate. But because of that, you really can't move his torso forward. You can move it back quite a bit. He does swivel at the waist. Let's go forward, back, and out. He spins at the thigh, although on mine, this one's really loose, as you can see. I'm not putting much pressure behind that, and that's moving pretty much on its own. So that's a little worrisome for me. He is double jointed in the knee, has a ball jointed ankle so he can move all around. Doesn't really hinge forward too well, but we still get that rocker in it, so you can still pose him like legs open, like he's begging for his life or something like that, telling Hogan not to hit him. But anyway, that's Bobby the Brain Heenan for you and the Heenan family. So what I'm going to do now is get the other members out here and move on to my final thoughts. So sit tight, everyone. So here we have the Heenan family pose for my final thoughts. Overall, really pleased with the set. The set was actually much better than I anticipated it to be. I actually passed on the Four Horsemen pack because that wasn't the Four Horsemen I grew up watching, but I couldn't pass up on the Heenan family because I needed a Bobby the Brain Heenan, I needed a Mr. Perfect, and it never hurts to have another Andre. And Big John Studd, I really wasn't too keen on him being in the set, but after having him in package, he's a really nice figure. If you're looking for this set, the Hall of Fame series is exclusive to Target. This 4-pack is only available at Target. At the time I picked this set up, I snagged it for a whopping $25. $25 is a steal for this set, seeing as how Elite figures cost you $21 with tax. The original asking price for this set is $50, I believe, which comes out to about, I want to say about $18 a figure, maybe more, or maybe less. Excuse me, I can't math today. If you can find this set, I really recommend you pick it up. If you can get it on sale, do it. You are not going to be disappointed with this set, especially if you're a fan of classic wrestling and you need a Big John Studd. And you really do need a Bobby Heenan in your collection. If you don't already have one, go pick one up. And this is King of Dragons 5000 saying, don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, tell me what you think of the Heenan family 4-pack. check out all my other wrestling reviews and check out all my other video reviews. Hopefully you guys enjoy what you see. Also check me out on Patreon. If I get more supporters on Patreon, I'm going to do more, or do giveaways, shout outs, stuff like that. So if you support me on Patreon, I will definitely let you guys know, and you'll get a lot of exclusive content there, excuse me. But for now, thank you for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care, everyone.
My dreams are